Bitcoin is giving us a massive warning signal right now. And I'm bringing you the show today as the move might be a lot bigger and faster than what we expected. In today's show, I'm breaking down high analyzed Bitcoin charts to show you the two different phases that we can be in right now. The one is accumulation and the one is a high time frame bear flag. And one of these results in a major new low for Bitcoin. Now with that comes multiple catalysts that can influence this. And I want to show you guys how I think the S&P could be getting to a toppy area. And a pullback from here with Bitcoin at support, things can get scary pretty quickly. Now guys, off this information, I want us to be able to prepare our mindset and our portfolio for 2026 to give us a realistic view of what should we actually be doing and the time preparation of how long can this actually take.
I try and help everyone in my space, and this is what I get. I try and fight the devils, but inside I'm just like 𝗦𝗶𝗃. Welcome to Sheldon Show.
Yo guys, welcome to the channel. Smash the like button if you find this information valuable. Guys, I'm bringing the show today because it's so important to zoom out where we're at. It's been a very emotional year, ups and downs everywhere. We've seen Bitcoin rally to 80, to 60,000, right, multiple times. And there's a lot of things that I want to speak around this because it's important, right? If we blow ourselves up too early, we're never going to be a part of the race when things lift up again. When we get through these phases, there is going to be another rally at some point. There is going to be some sort of bull market again. Okay, but these phases are the most difficult phases to get through. Okay, and specifically zooming out and being realistic with yourself. So for me, I was changing my strategies multiple times this year, and that's where the confusion is happening. And I do believe that it can actually get you into a lot of trouble by doing so. So what I decided to do was to zoom out and analyze. Zoom out and look at where we really are right now and look for the most, realistic type of time frame as well as the lows, right? As I looked here, I'm like, whoa, okay, we can go to 40,000, right? And there's a lot of things that I want to speak around in today's show so we can mentally prepare ourselves as well as prepare our portfolio. We got to get through this. We get through this, there's a lot of money to be made, okay? And after seeing the chop and seeing the rejection again, we do now have to look at how bad can this actually get. So the first thing that I want to go through is I want to quickly speak around why I think a real move is about to happen, right? And this goes off a very simple concept, right? There's no liquidity in the market right now. And what I mean by that is there's not a lot of shorts and there's not a lot of longs right now. And that is because of the multiple months that we have gone through. I want to show you guys this. All right, let's go here. Let's go here. Okay, so as I zoom out and I look at the liquidity, right, where's liquidation sitting at? Okay, you could see here, and as this loads up here, that there is not much liquidity. Let's just load up. Okay, there we go. Not much liquidity anywhere, right? We're not seeing much liquidity to the upside. We're not seeing it to the downside. And even if you zoom out, you'll see that it's just, we're not at that point where there's liquidity. Now, why is that so? It's because of the chop we've been in for multiple weeks. But firstly, let's go look at the story here. Right? When we saw massive downside come into play here, we had way more shorters than longers in the market. Right? Those that were shorting up here were making a lot of money. And every bounce that was coming up, right, they were shorting into it. Okay. Therefore, when you looked at this weeks ago, there was just so much yellow sitting to the upside. Right. That is where the market could go make money. Go and hit the shorters. Right. Because the longers were destroyed after multiple months and weeks to the downside that just caught and completely absorbed all the liquidity to the downside. Okay. Then what happened? It's quite interesting what happened. Right. We ended up having a slow grind and chop. Slow grind, slow grind, slow grind. Now, if you think about this mentally wise, right, many were shorting up here. As price came down, pushed up, they shorted. Okay, then what happened is price goes slightly up. They short. Price goes slightly up. And eventually it gets to a point where it starts to eat into those pools. But secondly, it starts to get shorters to start to change their mind. Okay, and all of a sudden they start to change their thesis. Okay, and long story short, when it comes to this over here, right, the shorters got absorbed at this point. A lot of them changed their thesis, and we're not seeing major liquidity anymore. Now, why is this so important? Is guys, when there is liquidity sitting in the market, when one area is more than the other when it comes to liquidity, the market can make fake moves to go get that. Right? The market could bounce here and go catch all that liquidity, right? And when it gets to a point where the market is neutral, that's when I look for the real big moves. Okay, so these shaky areas here, they are known as like accumulation phases, okay, but they're also there to hunt and to neutralize the market. And once there's no more liquidity, volume is low, right, it becomes a lot easier for the market to move quick at any point, and it's very likely where we are going to see a real move happen. So the first thing here that's a good sign is we definitely can see a real move and a directional move, which means that when it gets to where Bitcoin's at right now, and let's speak about it, right, is we could be ready for a real move now. Finally get out of this chop. Right? Are we going to go down? Are we going to go up? Right? We're getting to that point where the market is deciding and getting ready to do so. So a couple of things that I want to speak around before I go through the big where we're going to the downside. Right? I got a lot to speak around there. I do want to speak about where we are right now and why the warning signs are saying, hey, this could be downside. Right? And it could be quite aggressive from these areas of where we're at now, as well as this can take some time. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you guys is, again, the channel. The channel is very clear. Higher highs, higher lows. Right? One of the most well-known channels everyone knows right now, and it's a very important one. Okay, and the problem with this is it's not a directional strong move. This is just accumulating, which very much can result in us breaking the bottom and actually having another strong leg to the downside. And that's scary. Right? That's something that can take us way below the lows over here. Okay. Secondly, we have this 200-day moving average. And this is a very nice high time frame confluence type of tool that I use, right, to give me an idea of where its support and resistance is at. Right? And as you could see, we tagged it at 82,000 and we rejected. Now, why I'm showing you this is because are we here? Right? And it's something not to scare, but it's something to just pay attention to. Right? We made a flag here too. We first had a strong leg down over multiple weeks. Right? We then had a slow push to the upside. We tagged the 200-day, we rejected, we broke the bottom trend, and we had another leg to the downside. Right? And the crazy thing is if you take this here and you just scan these last 3-4 candles here, right, and you go print it to where we are right now, it's actually quite crazy to see how similar this is. Right? Look at that. Which means that this next week, if we start to lose these trends, we do have to have a real understanding of what this means and how far down can we go. Okay, so again, very similar when it comes to the 200-day, telling us that, hey, we had a good bounce, but for me, there was times where I was turning bullish here. And this is why I said I need to zoom out now and just look at the real picture here. This rejected, and for as long as we're below there, right, we are still in control of the bears are still in control of the market. And now we are down to major supports. Now I want to jump into the next thing, which is us talking around the lows, right? Timing, how long can this take, and the lows as well. But before I do that, I do want to speak around the catalysts and what I'm worried about, okay? S&P. S&P, guys, has been having these incredible runs. It really has, okay? But one thing that it's stuck to is a recipe, okay, of just slow grinding up, just being super consistent with grinding, breaking week for week, breaking highs, breaking highs, breaking highs, shakeout. Starts again, break highs, shakeout, right? And as you just zoom out here, you can just see move, shakeout, move, shakeout, move, shakeout, and you just see multiple times. But one thing that it's respected a lot of the times, right, is the top trend line. It's basically the slow grind up to new highs, and then it comes back down and tests support. Right? So my problem here right now is, yes, we've had great couple of weeks. And if you look at the RSI, specifically the weekly stochastic, this thing's dragging at the top right now, right? Indicating overbought. Okay, but secondly, it is coming straight into the top of this trend over here, which means the first warning sign that I have now is if Bitcoin has been a little bit bearish this week, right? And S&P has been breaking highs, what happens if this pulls back? And the first area that I have on a pullback here is sitting anywhere between 7 and 8%. Basically doing what it's done previously before, where it breaks through and it comes down and it tests the previous highs. Right? You can see how many times it has done that. Breaks through, comes down, tests the previous highs. Right? We made a new high, new all-time highs. Right? A test over there. Secondly, if it wants to lose that, it can also come and test these previous highs again. So we're sitting between at any point a 8% to a 16% pullback on the S&P. Right? This is something for me that I'm not chasing right now. I'm actually excited to buy when there is a good 20-30% pullback. Okay, but this is starting to get quite overextended. And one of the big warning signs, if Bitcoin's at support right now, and we could be seeing very likely in this next week or two start to see some redness in the S&P, right? It's very likely Bitcoin can lose that support and start to accelerate to the downside, right? So this is one thing that's worrying me quite a bit, and it's actually might be taking some trades in the week. So I'll chat to you guys around this. Nothing yet, but we'll chat about it in the week. Okay, the next thing here is the dollar index, right? The strength of the dollar. Now the dollar has been coming down. It's been coming down for the strength of the dollar has been coming down for multiple weeks to multiple months. Okay, but now we are getting to the point yet again where the high time frame is getting oversold. And as you can see, we're actually starting to see a little bit of momentum from the RSI here on the monthly, basically indicating that, hey, we're going to start getting some possible strength from the dollar at any point. We know this is generally not good for markets when we see the dollar start to strengthen. Right? Everything has to have its ups and downs. Okay, and the thing here that I see is at any point now, a nice little rally up, okay? And I'm seeing a rally up to this mid-range here, right? Getting to around this 104. There's a couple of reasons for that, but nonetheless, this for me indicates a 6 to 7% pullback in the S&P. If we decide, and I zoom out here and I show you the big channel here, we've been in this all the way since 2025. We've literally been chopping around these areas. Okay, but the big thing is we are here at support, and it's been a support that we have bounced at for a long time. And here, a push to this area here is a 7-8% S&P possible pullback, and a push up here could be up to 20%. Which one will play out? Right? I don't know yet. Right? The market is just so overbought when it comes to the S&P. Okay, but that's quite worrying. Again, Bitcoin sitting at support. Right? So keep this in mind over here. The next one as well is oil. Now, I'm bringing this chart here because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, right? There's war, there's all these different things, and that's what's obviously been sending this crazy rally in oil, okay? But my concern here is, firstly, I don't think there is a massive bull market in oil just yet that I'm seeing, okay? I see this massive flag all the way since 2008, and I'm just seeing this be respected. So I'm not seeing over the next few years like a rally up to $200 as an example, okay? However, this is quite a volatile area, and we've got to pay attention to the signs that we're seeing here. So we saw a couple of weeks back, right, we saw a rally from oil from $60 went up to $120. Then we saw a rejection. Okay, then we saw a bounce. Now, why I'm saying this now again is there are two to three big supports here. I won't be surprised over the next 2-3 weeks, okay, that we do actually see a bounce here. Does that mean things are going to escalate again? We will see, but the chart is indicating here that there can be some strength in oil again, right? And that might also just add a little bit more to this whole pot of just really being careful right now and preparing for some downside, right? Now, I want to go and speak around Bitcoin. Let's speak around the lows and the different things that I'm seeing. So the first thing I want to speak around is this kind of 4-year cycle. So I've been spending some time watching vids, just analyzing, right? And I jumped on Benjamin Cowan. Incredible. Man's really done well with just keeping things nice and neutral, right? And just really keeping to the thesis as well. And been calling the market amazing as well. But secondly with that was a very interesting concept of 4-year cycles, right? These 4-year cycles of bull markets every 4 years, right? We've ended that. It started to change, okay? And the more he deep dived and I started deep diving, I'm like, whoa, we're actually still intact right now when it comes to 4-year cycles, just not the tops, right? But the bottoms. Now, why I'm saying this is because you need to be able to prepare if we're going to have another 3 months to 6 months, right? How far are we from where we usually kind of bounce type of area so that you can actually survive? Guys, we've been down already from 120K down to 73,000. Now, the last thing we're going to do is kind of exit the race. Before the next 3 to 6 months, the race starts again and life-changing money happens again, right? So having an idea of a time frame is also super important. So I wanted to bring you guys this chart here and just show you. So I'm going to go here to the logarithmic chart and just show you guys that we've actually been keeping to a certain system when it comes to Bitcoin. So the first one, if you go all the way back to 2014, 2015, right, where the lows were at this point over here, you could see that around 1,400 days, we had the new low in 2018. Okay, then 1,400 to 1,500 days later, we had a new low in 2022. Okay, after that, we broke new highs again. And as you can see, if we take on another 1,400 to 1,500 days, right, you could see anywhere here sitting between the areas of August to around October, right, kind of marks the areas of the mid 1,400. As it stands right now, we are sitting at around 1,250 to 1,280 days. So just saying that, hey, a new phase can kind of happen, or another pullback can happen, okay? But at some point, we are going to find a bottom. And I think that's mainly what I'm making this video around today is this the bottom area, or is the bottom area lower, right? And because there's still time, has to open us to the fact that there is a new low possibility as well. Okay, which gets me to the next point. I have the 200 weekly moving average. This is, remember I showed you the 200 daily, now the 200 weekly. This is high time frame. Okay, and what you could see here is it's become a really good magnet when the market goes bullish. And when it comes into bear markets, we tend to come and chop around it. Okay, so if you look at, again, this phase here, we rally off, we come down, we chop. After that, we take off, right? We drop slightly below, okay? But for me, it's a magnet of, we can come down to this moving average at any point, right? Super high time frame. And as you can see, we drop, we hit it, we chop around it, and then at any point we can restart. Okay, now I don't use this as bottoms, but what I do is I understand the phase, okay, that it can chop around it, and there's a phase that we usually gravitate towards this MA. And if we look at where we are now, we just tagged a little bit above it in this circumstance here. Okay, but you can see that this is even sitting at 61,000. So as a minimum type of move here of us pulling back here, like 61,000 is something that I'm really paying attention to. But at the same point, we can chop around this thing and make new lows as well. Okay, which means at any point now we could push and start to break down. And again, if we lose these lows, we're going to start looking at this next major downside areas over here. Okay, so when it comes to timing, again, us seeing downside here, right? This is possibly indicating for me that we are in a bear flag and we have not even seen the accumulation phase just yet. Now, I don't think the accumulation phase is going to be too long. I do think there's more institutional money. I do think things have shifted, okay? But something like this, right, is very likely for me, the possibilities. We could even drop and do something like this. Which means not only can things get worse from here, but we can also have another irritating, boring phase. However, guys, I think it is incredible opportunities if we go here. Okay, now I am going to get a little bit scary for a second because I think it's important. Okay, if we are going to, let's say, respect the time frames when it comes to where things, where we kind of bounce these type of areas. We have to look at the other examples as well, okay, which is also the size of the pullbacks, okay, because once we start, or at any point, if we start to lose $60,000, we need to start bracing for impact now, because now there are many supports that come into play here, and I'm going to highlight them. The first support, right, is here at 53,000. The second support, right, is here at around 38 to 40,000. Okay, and the third support's at 30,000. Sounds scary, but it's time we really pay attention to, hey, is this the possibilities right here? The next thing is obviously looking at the pullbacks. If we look at the last cycle pullbacks, again, I think the market cap's a little bit bigger. I'm going to take a little slightly less type of approach. However, the data shows that 75 to 80% is the pullbacks. But we don't stay there long. This is why I'm saying that if this comes into play, we might be on the verge of the acceleration now. There could be huge opportunities to accumulate Bitcoin at incredible levels. Okay, we did not stay there. We stayed there for maybe a week or two, and then we started rallying slowly up and started having the next major push to the upside. Okay, so something like that, if we look at where does a 75% hold us here, it's $32,000. And there is support there, right? So that is something to very much be aware of, that if let's say S&P wants to do a 20%, 25% drop, we have to be open towards that. Okay, now the way that this can kind of happen or kind of look, right, could be something where it drops aggressive, okay, or it just slowly chops like this and then starts to move up. Okay, we'll get to this point over here. So what I'm doing, okay, is I got a little bit of cash, is I got some limit orders at 59,000. I have some limit orders at 51,000. I have more limit orders at 40,000, and I have more limit orders at 31,000. There's no brainer. I am buying as much as possible if that comes into play. Right. The next thing as well of just why I'm bringing up this, let's go back to this chart here. Why I'm bringing up possibly those areas. Guys, my brain don't want to think that negative at all, but we have to just look at where is the momentum. And if we look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin has done this big wedge. A lot of drawings here now. You see this massive wedge, how it's been opening up like this. And if I draw it correctly, you'll see it. We hit basically the exact top right there, which indicates for us, hey, next cycle, we're probably looking at 160. Right, and we should chop like that for a while, hoping it doesn't stay as volatile for the next couple of years. But nonetheless, yes. Okay. So if we look at this here, the support's down at 40,000. So if I just take off of multiple tools here, right, I got two big zones here of where we're going to bounce. Right, and this will highlight for me the phase that I spoke about. If we drop to this 200 weekly and we hold 60,000, right, it's very likely we do this shift and we go. That means that this whole move is accumulation. Okay. The other scenario is the strong, there's another leg coming, like we saw this over here. Right. This is the area here. So I would say if I'm looking at two big bounce zones, the ones at 60, okay, and the ones at 40,000. In between is dollar costing zones. Okay, but those are like the two that I have a lot of reasons of why we can bounce in these major areas. Okay, now let's jump onto the next part over here. And I want to quickly jump through. I'm not going to talk too much altcoins this show. Okay, alts I don't think are going to have as much damage as Bitcoin, to be honest. I think we are getting to a point where we are going to see a Bitcoin catch up. We've been wondering for multiple weeks and months, nearly a year or two, why is this Bitcoin dominance not coming down? Okay, and for me, the reasoning was the Bitcoin dominance is going to come down when it's alt season. Okay, but we have not seen that. We've seen altcoin rallies, but we have not seen major alt seasons. Okay, and what we might actually be seeing at any point now is a drop in dominance, but actually on a Bitcoin catch up. We might be seeing a Bitcoin flush out at any point. Okay, and if we decide to start losing these trends here of this 58%, we could be seeing a drop up to this important MA here at 54%, but actually on a bearish and not a bullish Bitcoin. Which means when I get back to the altcoins here, altcoins I do think can make lows, even if Bitcoin wants to go down to 40,000, right? But I don't think it's going to go that far down. I think we could be looking at something like this as scenario type of one. This is alts have broken back into trend. That's why for me, alts, I'm just accumulating the top 10 coins and I'm just accumulating as long as I can, right? At these crazy levels that we're seeing. Okay, but this one's back in trend, which is interesting. Okay, but if it does, we do get bearish next week. Okay, something like this is the one scenario. If Bitcoin holds 60,000 and maybe slightly lower down if we decide to go down to that 40,000 type of zone. Okay, but I think altcoins are looking not too bad right now. But again, if Bitcoin is down, you know, all for me is basically accumulation levels, high time frame. Okay, now I want to get to the next part, guys. Another quick sip. Smash up the like. Okay, next part now. I want to speak around the different assets. Now, this is helping me kind of really think around this S&P pullback, right? As well as the Bitcoin continuation down, which means I'm bringing in a couple of assets here, right? The one that I want to bring in is gold as an example. And I got this gold chart over here. Okay, now gold for me is, we're not people like spending, right? We're not like investing. Okay, or when are people kind of getting into the dollars right now? And so for me, if gold's kind of going up, either it's like people jump into safety, but they're seeing strength. Gold's already gone up a lot over the last couple of months, right? So while someone kind of wanted to be chasing this right now, okay, unless they're really confident in the market, right? But as you look at this here, we're sitting in this massive wedge right now, And it does actually show us that there's probably multiple weeks until there's a big move in gold, like a big move, right, of new highs or possibly down. I do have a scenario of us going down to 4,000. Okay, so what this basically means for me is I'm not seeing people have this courage to go and just put money in places right now. Right, everyone's chasing the S&P, right, chasing a bunch of different. I'll speak around a couple of stocks now as well. Okay, but here, one of the main big assets here, I'm not seeing a bunch of money for, and to be honest, I'm not seeing any of it soon. Actually, possible bearish scenarios here, right? If we drop down, there is support at this area here, but I wouldn't be surprised if this happens over the next couple of weeks as well. Right? And then we start rallying up. The only thing that shifts that for me is if we start breaking above 5,000 above this trend. Okay, so I'm showing this now because yes, there might be some small accumulation goals areas on gold, but I'm not too paying attention to that. For me, if I'm buying gold, I want to buy special, so around 4,000, 3,600 on my areas to buy. Okay, but this does give me an idea of where money's at right now. People are not flying in, and we could jump to obviously things like silver too. Right, I'm not seeing any major silver rallies just yet. I'm actually seeing downside. Right, so that's something important to pay attention to, which gets me to a couple of stocks that I want to pay attention. Like I want to show you guys. Okay, NVIDIA is one of them. Okay, so again, NVIDIA's massive uprising channel. Right, there is still some resistance here. You could see a little bit more temporary move to the upside at any point, but it is telling me at any point there's a magnet here. Right, there's a magnet here, and obviously if we lose that, there's a big magnet down. But like I wouldn't be surprised for the next week or two we start to see down here. We start to see a nice 10, 15% drop in NVIDIA. Right. If we look at things like just Apple as an example, yes, Apple is looking good. Okay, it's had a nice rally, but I just want to show you this channel that we've been in. See my line moved. There we go. Okay, just look at where we are at. First, look at the amounts of candles. Many green candles in a row on the weekly, coming into resistance. Right. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like this at any point. Okay, so there's also, this might be like all over type of thing, right? Big pullback come into play, which means we need cash and we need brain power and we need to be there to take advantage of the opportunities, right? So again, if we look here at Amazon, their support, we're at the top, resistance. Right, we look at Tesla, resistance, support's down here. Okay, so it's just a couple things to really pay attention to. So guys, end of the day here, how am I positioning myself after all of this information? Okay, for me personally, I've changed my thesis slightly. I'm still a trader and I'm going to day trade. Day trading, if I see altcoins moving, I'm going to move to them. Right? If I see gold moving for a short-term trade, I'll move to it. So trading is going to continue for me no matter what. When it comes to trading, I'm trading small accounts and I'm trading funded accounts. Right? That is my strategy right now. Try catch some rhythm. Okay, I'm not deploying huge trading accounts right now. When it comes to my long term right now, I am looking at accumulating the top altcoins. Okay, alts, for me specifically, the ones that are down 95%, blue chip alts that are good, I'm not too worried about trying to catch them another 10, 20% lower. I've bought, and to be honest, I'm probably done there. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to accumulate as much cash to buy Bitcoin special. Right, that for me is the important thing here, that if Bitcoin goes down anywhere between 40 and 50,000, like I need to be able to buy as much as possible. Okay, so I'm actually storing in a bunch of cash right now, and I'm going to try accumulate some cash for the next month or two, right? And look for the very clear opportunities. The clear opportunities in the stock markets, the clear opportunity in possible gold, right? And definitely I'm looking for Bitcoin. And one thing I do want to show you guys here is I do want to go through Bitcoin here and just show you what kind of invalidates this thesis, okay? Because there needs to be. Okay, not to say that this is exactly going to happen. Like this is a warning sign today. Say, guys, if we don't wake up and we start losing 71, like things can wake up quickly. Just be alert of it. Make sure your portfolio can handle it. Make sure you can handle it. Like protect yourself, right? For us to turn bullish here, I got two bullish scenarios. The one is we push up, something like that. Okay, we have a bit of time for that. Okay, to see that. And the second one is, yes, engulfing candle. When you see one weekly candle break here, I'm still going to be very concerned with stock markets, even if we do so. Okay, but for me to say, hey, we're going to 90,000 or anything that just yet, I need to see us basically do something like that over the while. So I need more proving and a little bit more time. What you can do is also put this top trend in And that can be a sign. Right? If we start to break this trend, then there's a possibility. For now, everything's kind of aiming to, hey, defense, 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 and protect yourself out there. Guys, if you enjoyed this format of the show, smash the like button, comment below what you want to see in the next stream. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.